next example. So this one is actually going to be a non-linear equation, and we'll talk about what makes all these different graphs that we're doing give their different shapes. But you'll notice on this one that the highest exponent is a 2. So it's an x squared graph, which we call quadratic. So it's actually going to make a U shape. Okay? So instead of creating the XY chart, replacing the X with different values and creating our chart, we are actually going to go to our calculator. So if we go to our calculator and hit the y equals button, and we'll put in our new equation. So y equals x squared. So remember, the x is the button next to the green alpha, squared. So you can hit the x squared button. And then plus 3. So first things first, let's see what shape this is going to make us. So I'm just going to hit the graph button on my calculator, and you'll notice that it's going to make this U shape that we call parabolas. That's what, if your highest exponent is a 2 in your x squared graph, you are going to be a parabola or a U shape. But more importantly, let's look at the table. So we'll hit the second key and then the table key or the graph key. So you'll notice that you've got as many points as you want. Okay, so when I am going to graph this, I'm just going to choose 3 or 4 points from this table. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, let's just stay right around in here. I will choose those 4 points, -1, 4, 0, 3, 1, 4, and 2, 7. So since we put this equation in our calculator and it gave us the table for us, now I'm just going to use those points that I had circled and plot those. So my first point is at -1, 4. So let's go -1 would be go to the left 1 and then up 4. So there's -1, 4. 0, 3 means go left or right 0, up 3. So there's that point. The third point is at 1, 4. So to the right 1 and up 4. And the last point is at 2, 7. So to the right 2 and up 7. So you'll notice that when you connect those points, that's the graph that it showed you in your calculator that made that U-shaped parabola. Okay, let's look at another example. All right, this next example says to graph y equals the absolute value of x minus 4. So again, I am going to go to my calculator and put this equation in that y equals button. Okay, so back on the calculator. So again, I'm going to go to my y equals button, clear out my last problem. Now, to get those absolute value bars, in order to graph this correctly, you're going to hit the math key right below the green alpha key. You'll see a math key. Now, once you hit the math key, you want to come to the next thing over to the right, that NUM. And the very first thing under that NUM is that, you see the number 1, ABS, that's standing for absolute value. So just hit your enter key. There you'll see your absolute value bars. So now you can put in the x minus 4. And I like to arrow to the right to kind of get out of that absolute value. Let's see what shape this gives us. It's going to be a V shape. So that's what absolute values are going to look like. But once again, the most important thing we need from this are some points. So I'm going to hit the second key and then that graph key again, because that'll take me to the table. And then I'll just choose some points out of this table. Okay, let's see. I like to choose, if you'll notice in that Y column, where that 4 is, and you'll notice that on the either side of that 0, Y, that's where it starts repeating itself. That's what's giving it that shape right there. The parabola did the same thing, okay? So let's use these points to graph this function. All right, so back to our graph. So you'll notice that we have these 3 that I just pulled straight out of my calculator, and now I am going to plot these 3 points. So I have, the first point is at 3, 1. So to the right 3 and up 1. The next point is at 4, 0. So to the right 4, but then don't go up or down at all because your Y is 0. And the last point is at 5, 1. So to the right 5 and up 1. So you'll notice when you connect these, you do have that V shape that you saw in your calculator for the absolute value graph.